Hey guys, I'm Rick, and today I want to show you how to build this little multicolored wooden pumpkin that you can use either to decorate your home, and to have some festive fall decor, or if you're looking for a project to build and sell, this guy would be great to add to your income stream this year. So if you're interested, stick around and I'll show you how I built it.
Before I forget to mention it, I do have a set of plans made for this project. If you're like me and you like to see things written out, you can even print them out. And they're on their website, sawyourcustomcrafts.com, and I'll leave that in the description. So, first thing I'm going to do is cut off the ends of this 2x4 just to make sure that it's straight. And then I'm going to measure to find the right size. These are you're only going to need 5 pieces, and they're all going to be the same size. So what I'm going to do is add a stop block. It's kind of a cheap stop block, but it works. It keeps me from having to remeasure every time. So once I get that done, I'm still one of those folks that likes to label everything, and it helps me make less mistakes. Uh, I still make mistakes, but I make less, so that's what I'm doing. And should correlate with the plans that we have available. So we're going to grab parts A and E, and then what we're going to do is cut kind of the ends of A and E. We're going to cut those at 45 degrees, and that's what I'm doing right there. So you will only do that on those two parts. So you will only cut the 45 on parts A and parts E. Um, all of the rest of them will be just straight. So this is the only one of those that you'll have to do. Then and that's the A and the E that we just did. And you can see the 45 degrees. So in the plans, that's kind of what I'm trying to point out. Now we're going to grab part C. And what I'm trying to do is just find the center of part C. And the way I do that is I just use a straight edge and I draw from corner to corner. That will show me the center. And now I'm just going to use a center punch. The center punch is good because it helps you keep the drill bit. We're going to drill a hole in that here in just a second. The center punch will help you keep that drill bit straight. Um, Now I'm going to use a 1/4 inch drill bit because we're planning for 1/4 inch dowels. And what I did is I measured a 1/2 inch up on that drill bit, and I put a piece of blue tape there just to kind of help me mark where or how deep that I should cut it. And so I drilled that in part C, which is the middle piece, and then now I've drilled it into, I guess, what we're going to call the stem, which is that thick piece. What you can see there is the 1/4 inch dowels. You can do this two ways. You can either buy the pre-made 1/4 inch dowels, which are kind of short, or I do a lot of projects and where I use the dowel, so it's just easier for me to keep the longer sticks, and that way I can cut them, however long I want. So you can decide how you want to do that. Now, this is going to be the stem that goes on the top. And it's really just a piece of a lumber that I've cut kind of octagonal. Uh, and you can use a couple different things. You can use like a 1 inch dowel. You can even use a stick from the yard, whatever works. And that's just what I had. So I installed the dowel into the stem, and then I put some glue, and now I've nailed it down to part C. And that's probably the hardest part of this whole project. So. Now what we're going to do is we're going to start working on um, the, I think it's parts B and D, which if you're following the plans, this is going to be, I think step 8. But all I'm going to do is use some wood glue, and I've got a little glue roller right there that really helps out. But I'm just gonna screw parts B and D. I'm gonna screw them on to part C. Now I'm just using 2.5 inch wood screws. And really, I would say the only thing you really have to watch out for is just make sure that you're driving your screws below the surface there of part B or D. That way, because you will put another part on to those, and you don't want the screws sticking out. Otherwise, it may cause it to rock a little bit or something. But really, that's it. And um, So you're just driving these straight down into part C. And it's going to be pretty stout. I'm not sure that it would come apart, with the wood glue by itself, but when you get the wood glue and the screws, it's pretty stout. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure part D, and I'm just measured 2 inches from each end. And the only reason I did that is because I'm going to install some dowels in a minute, and I don't want those dowels to poke out where the 45-degree cut is. Those are dowel center pins, and they will help you tremendously get these dowels straight. If you got those, it doesn't really matter where you put your dowels. You stick them in the hose and then you press down, and it'll transfer exactly where you need to drill the mating holes into. And that's all I did right there. You see those holes? Now I'm going to cut a little more off of the 1/4 inch dowel. Also, one thing is make sure you check where you put your blue tape on your drill bit. You can tell those dowels are a little longer. The plans call for I think 1 inch, but my tape moved up and my hole got drilled a little deeper. So oops. And I do make another mistake, and you'll see that here in just a second. It's going to be with one of these dowels. I think it's this one right here. But I was gonna kind of edit it out, and then I thought, well, this kind of stuff happens, right? So uh, anyway, you'll see hopefully in a second how I fix that. All I'm doing now is I'm using a glue brush, and I'm using Type Bond 3 wood glue, and I'm gonna there it went right there. I just broke that dude off. What am I gonna do? I don't know. Oh, I got it. I know what I'll do. I'll drill another hole. You know, sometimes the simplest things take me a little while to figure out. But if you make a mistake, it's cool. You can usually fix it. So we got it going. Now we're just tapping E onto the side, and then We're gonna repeat the same exact process for part A. So I'm measuring up 2 inches. And then I'm going to drill the hose. It doesn't matter where you drill these hoses. I think I've already said that, but it doesn't matter. You put them anywhere because what matters is that you have those little dowel pins because they will tell you where you need to drill them on the maintenance side. It went by pretty quick, but if you notice, I did put an up arrow just so that I can keep the orientation straight on that part. Otherwise, the hose wouldn't line up right the way they're supposed to. But we're gonna do this again, and hopefully I'll make it through here without breaking a dowel off again. Um, so, uh, and I've just added some glue onto the bottom. I've got just a little like painter's brush that I'm using to put the glue on those things. It's not anything fancy. My glue jug is actually I guess like a barbecue ketchup squeezer or something, just because my regular glue bottle broke. So, again, sometimes you do what you could do. And that's it. It's finished. You don't have to do this. Uh, the screws should hold it tight, but I've got some parallel clamps because I build a lot of cutting boards and stuff. So I'm just going to squeeze it and then come back the next day, let it dry. So here it is, we're the next day, and it's dry, so I pull it out of the clamps, and all I'm doing is I've got an orbital sander, and I'm just running it over it with 120 grit sandpaper, and I'm just knocking those corners down. Um, it is kind of a rustic themed kind of thing, so you don't have to go crazy with it. Some of you may notice if you're watching closely that my edge parts, I think it's parts A and E. I did end up cutting those a little short, but it worked out great. Again, this you don't have to do. I've got a little torch, so I'm just gonna kind of torch that. And the reason I do it, and you'll see here in just a second, right there, when I torch the grain, it really makes that grain kind of pop and stand out. And um, just like that. I don't know. I like that. And then when you paint it, sometimes that grain will kind of show through a little differently than the rest of the wood that's not torched. So it gives it a really kind of a really cool look, and at least I like it. If you do use a torch, don't do like I did. Don't use your torch on top of cardboard. Whoops, yeah. So that's not a great idea. So That's it. You've got it constructed, and again, you can paint this thing any way you want. I've seen them painted orange, solid orange, and that looks pretty good. I've seen some people paint them solid green, and that looks pretty good. I wanted to try it with some different colors, and you can tell. I mean, I know it goes by pretty quick, but I'm actually just using. My wife likes to paint, and she said that I could use some of her little acrylic paints to really just to see, how the colors would look. So. You don't have to spend a lot of money to buy like the super high dollar paint and stuff. Sometimes just use what you have, and this is what I had, and I think it turned out okay. Hopefully you will as well. So I've got it painted. Those are actually a red and a green. This color, it looks like yellow, like I don't know, mustard yellow or something, but really it's orange. And I know you probably don't believe me, but it's orange, and I even painted it twice to get it to look more orange, and it was killing me. I just could not get it to show through the way that I wanted to. And then I've got a little blue, so I'll put blue kind of in the middle, and I really like the way the blue looked. And then the last one will actually be like a white color. So again, you can paint these any way you want. Here in just a second, you'll see me when I get it all painted. I'll come back with a sander and I'll sand it. And what I did is I let it dry for just a little bit. It wasn't all the way dry when I sanded it, and because it wasn't all the way dry, the colors kind of blended together a little bit, and it just it it kind of gave the effect that it was all kind of blending together. So keep that in mind if you like that. I mean, I did, and I did it specifically for that purpose. So it worked out. And I'm going to use a piece of sandpaper here in just a second, just to kind of clean up the inside of those cracks. You can see that white right there. So, and again, the paint, as you can tell, it's still pretty wet now, but the sandpaper is really kind of giving it some character, and it's kind of toning down those really stark spots. So there I am, we're sanding it. You see how it just kind of blends it together, brings those spots out, and you can still see that dark um, grain because of the torching. So I don't know. I like it. You may not like it. If you do it differently, hey, send me a picture and let me know. I'd love to see how you do it. You can send that to rick@sawyercustomcrafts.com, and I would love to see how you guys decorate these things and get them together. My wife is fixing to step in. She is the talented one, and she is going to tie some string and ribbon. And I think this is just like I think it's called jute string or just jute, whatever. But that's all that is. And then we have some bow that we picked up from it's either Michael's or Hobby Lobby or somewhere like that. But she does this so much better than I would do it. I'm so thankful for all of her amazing talents. But anyway, that's pretty much it. I'm gonna add some photos here at the end just so you can kind of see. We would so appreciate you liking and subscribing if this is, these simple projects like this or something that you're interested in. Um, I thank you so much for liking and subscribing, and hopefully we'll get to do some new videos. If there's a project that you would be interested in us doing, shoot me a message in the comments and let me know, and I'll try to see what I can do about getting those kind of videos done as well. Anyway, thanks so much, folks. I appreciate your time. God bless, and have a great day. Bye.